It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to Nerd Breaking News. And here you are for another episode of our podcast. I am the host, TK Williams. To my left, I got the professor, the kid, and then right below me, we have the eagle. Today, we're going to be talking about who do we believe it belongs in the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. So let's go ahead and get it started. Kid, you want to take the first attempt?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's kind of hard not to know growing up people who didn't like wrestling. So this is gonna be a fun topic. Um, Mount Rushmore has four, right? So this is it. This is our top four pro wrestlers of all time. For me, I'm gonna go in order, not necessarily numerical order, but in order in the sense of like the way I picked it. Um, Ric Flair is number four for me. I had the Macho Man before, and I love the Macho Man. Oh yeah, but it's Ric Flair not only because the NWA years, the WCW years, the famous match he had with Shawn Michaels, which I love that match. We're not gonna mention the fact that he went to TNA afterwards. This is a guy who, on paper, not popularity, but on paper, is the best wrestler in the history of the sport. Right? I think at WCW there was the joke was going around that he was like the 16-time world champion or something like that. He had the promos, he had the in ring abilities, he had the out ring abilities, out of the ring abilities. He had a persona, charisma. From Charlotte, North Carolina, Ric Flair. That's number four for me. Number three is, um, and this is me taking my bias out. I have to be a little bit objective here, as much as I'm not trying to be biased. But number three is Bret Hart. Bret the Hitman Hart is number three for me because he's my, not, full disclosure, he's my favorite wrestler of all time. I grew up with him beating Mr. Perfect in the SummerSlam, the famous Bulldog in England fight, the rivalry with his brother Owen Hart, the King of Hearts, the one of the most famous rivalries in history, him and Shawn Michaels. Another rivalry before he went to WCW, which is Stone Cold. Bret the Hitman Hart was, and he still is. It's my favorite documentary in wrestling, Hitman Hart on A&E back in the day. I still think he got screwed by WWE, but whatever. Um, the excellence of execution, I love him. I just think he's the best technical wrestler in the history of the sport as well. Number two is Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, and Shawn Michaels
Really?
started. Yeah, number two, Shawn Michaels, and that's, what, that says a lot. TK, it says a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
it does.
because I love the Hitman, and they're rivals. Shawn Michaels, I loved him as a rocker. Him and Marty Jannetty, the colorful outfits back in the late '80s, early '90s. And then once he became the Heartbreak Kid in '92, when he betrayed the storyline of Marty Jannetty, which Bobby Heenan did a great line of, like, when he hit him in the face and he hit the glass. Bobby
Mhm.
Heenan said, "Oh, look at him trying to escape! What a coward!" I was like, "Yo, he got hit in the face." Um, he had Sherry as the manager, I think, when he first started. Then he brought in Diesel from WCW. Shawn Michaels, the famous match with Razor Ramon. And it wasn't for injury. I think in the late '90s, he was gone for like a long period of time until he came back. You can make the argument that Shawn Michaels had two great careers, right? '80s, '90s, and then the 2000s. And Shawn Michaels is, I said Bret was the best technical wrestler in history. The best resume was Rick. I say Shawn Michaels was the best talented wrestler in the history, like the most talented. He could wrestle with anybody. He could do anything. The storylines, the promos. Uh, it hurts pains to say because I'm a Bret Hart fan, but he's number two. And then for me, the greatest wrestler, out of respect to Ric Flair, obviously I already named him, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like I wanted to, out of no disrespect to the Hulk and Macho and Rock or any of the new guys nowadays, but it's Stone Cold. People have to remember that he was in WCW as stunning Steve Austin with the blonde hair and all that stuff, and then he became the ringmaster in '96, and then he winged Austin 316 when he won the King of the Ring in '96. Stone Cold saved WWE or WWF at the time from WCW, destroying them in the ratings from the Monday Night Wars. Everybody wanted to see. Everybody knew his theme song. Everybody loved his Austin 316. Everybody loved his attitude. Everybody loved the whole beard thing he used to do. Everybody got stunned every single night on Monday Night Raw. And you tuned in every Monday night because you knew somebody was going to get stunned. Whether it was the McMahon family, it was The Rock. He, for me, is WWE owes him short of no gratitude for what he's done for the business, and even his podcast is amazing. I have nothing but love with Stone Cold. I think for me, again, out of respect to Ric Flair, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's amazing selections, actually. So, Professor.
Unfortunately, the kid and I agree way too much. So my top pick was also Ric Flair. And the reason why is because I think that you've achieved greatness whenever a person can look at a picture of you and attribute a sound. And when you hear the chop, you just hear woo at this. When you see the chop, you just hear woo at the same time. It is what it is. And forever, whenever any wrestler does a chop, your mind immediately goes to Ric Flair every time. And to me, that's legendary status right there. My number 2 was also Bret Hart. Because the sharpshooter to me is just a brilliant technical move that's translatable from both wrestling, MMA, and it was he just had a style that was cool to watch. And he also had, I think, the greatest tagline of all time, which is my personal mantra: the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And to me, that's just everything. For my third, I also had Stone Cold Steve Austin, unfortunately, just like the kid. The WWE basically owes they owe Steve Austin royalties and his children. It's like that. Because when you're looking at the character that he created, he pretty much, I think, personifies the 90s completely. Everything about that character is so 90s. From the way he dressed, the way he moved, the way he spoke, it was perfect. And you wouldn't have a Rock without Stone Cold, but you would have a Stone Cold without the Rock. So to me, the two aren't even on the same league. My number 4, though, is different. My number 4 is actually The Undertaker. To me, what's special about The Undertaker is he reminded all the kids that thought that pro wrestling was quote unquote real. There's a degree of fiction in it too. And it was obvious, it was planned, and it was perfect. And the character he played forever was perfect. And the tombstone is still one of the most ridiculous things you'll ever see from a guy who's just too big to even be real. So I got to give it to The Undertaker for number 4.
So my selections were already picked. That's crazy. So I definitely have Stone Cold Steve Austin in there, followed by Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, and number 2, Undertaker as my number 1. And the only reason why I put Undertaker as the number 1 spot is because of that legacy that he's had over those 3-4 decade career that he had, and the impressive WrestleMania streak that he had. This guy has battled legends in WrestleMania year after year after year, and held that record for so long. And I still get chills every time I will hear that gong. Automatic chills just to see the Undertaker come in. He's the greatest of all time for me. Here you go. Who are your 4?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of wrestling. Um, back in my days in the Dominican Republic, there were a lot of fans. A lot of people were watching it, but that wasn't me. But I still understand the importance that it had in our generation, especially in the '90s and the 2000s as well, and till this day. So I didn't think that it was fair to you guys and to our audience, for me, a person who doesn't know too much about this, to basically create his Mount Rushmore top 4. But I do have a question for you guys, and in this case, I'm actually asking this question to the panel. That would be, why hasn't anyone mentioned The Rock? in their top four. And you know, I don't have the answer, but I know you guys have, and it might be a personal opinion, or there might be more facts that I don't know, or maybe the audience doesn't know. So I guess to you guys, why is The Rock not in the top four of you guys?
Go ahead, Jay.
I think The Rock's a little overrated. With The
Ooh.
Rock, I think that his character was entertaining, but at the same time, he couldn't really hold the stage on his own. I think that when you're looking at it, part of the reason why The Rock is famous, well, the character himself is famous, is because it was paired with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they did almost like a black versus white thing in a way when it comes down to it. But the actual substance of that character, I don't think matches the substance of the Stone Cold character at all. In terms of wrestling technique, The Rock doesn't really. He has some moves that are fun, but I don't think that most of them, aside from the people's elbow and things like that, are anything that we would call like technically great.
The Rock bottom was weak.
Yeah. It was so weak they put it in quite a few of Dwayne Johnson's earliest movies. They would just slip it in there. Hey, look, it's The Rock. We know.
I'll add on. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'll quickly add on to what the professor was saying. I think the problem with The Rock ego is the idea that I hope generations have now known him as an actor instead of a wrestler. So it's gone. More than 20 years have passed of him being a full-time wrestler. And to the professor's point, he was a better mic. He knew the crowd. He knew how to win the crowd. He knew how to get there. He was a great guy making jokes and everything like that. Great counter to Steve Austin. But everybody who remembers that era, the greatest era in the history of wrestling, the Attitude Era, they knew that Stone Cold was leading that. And then 2 and 3 was a battle between Triple H and The Rock. By the way, I hope we do this later, but we're gonna do a shout out to like honorary mentions because
we have to.
Because Kurt Angle needs to be in there. Kurt Angle was
I used
amazing.
to hate Kurt Angle so much, so personally. Every time I saw him, I just get angry.
You suck. But going back to answer your question before TK goes, that's what I think it is, man. I think generations have passed, and so when you're more of an actor, even that's debatable in Hollywood. When you're more of an actor, and people remember, oh Lord, and people remember you as an actor more than a wrestler, that's an indictment because we don't really see other wrestlers like that. I know that John Cena is now, him and Batista, and to give The Rock credit, but we can't give him too much flowers because Hulk Hogan did it. He didn't do it to the same success as The Rock because he did No Holds Barred, Mr. Nanny, that stuff. But he was doing Thunder in Paradise. I know nobody watched it on TNT or TBS, but he was still doing it. Like Hulk Hogan paved the way. Hulk Hogan paved the way to make it. Oh, this guy can do something else, and I think that's the problem, bro. I think the problem is the Rock became more of an actor, and then when it comes to actual wrestling stuff, there was a lot more people better.
Okay.
Yeah, I personally don't put Rock up there, and not because he's not great. Like this is the most electrifying wrestler in the ring. Love the guy, how he talks and everything like that. But that was basically it. Like unfortunately, he came in at a time where he started blossoming because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. It wasn't because of what he was doing before. You got to remember, he was part of the Nation of Domination. What do we remember about that era of him? Before that, he was a Rocky Maivia. What do we remember? Yeah, like what do we remember about that? So Stone Cold Steve Austin and that rivalry that he had is what helped Rock ascend to where he was. And unfortunately, that put him always behind Stone Cold Steve Austin. And by the time Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, then it was about kind of in between him and Triple H. And Triple H is a cerebral assassin, and the way he wrestles was on par to what Rocky was doing, unfortunately. So for me, it was just like he never was really like by himself the main attraction.
Actually,
WWE.
the subject matter expert on this. So, would you say that Triple H is at The Rock's level, or would you say Triple H is above The Rock's level?
It would depend on what we're going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're talking about skill sets, I believe Triple H is a better skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about a better entertainer, that's The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Better career, I'm pushing it towards Triple H.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Better impact into the current generation and what WWE is doing now, Triple H.
Mm-hmm. Because to my point, I see The Rock kind of like the Nick Fury of wrestling, where he pops up, and because he's there, everyone else looks a little bit better. He gets everybody else up to speed, and then they do the actual work, and he's around towards the end. That's how I view the Rock's role when he was in pro wrestling. Because when you're looking at it, right? So first you got Stone Cold. The Rock makes Stone Cold look better. Then you got Triple H. Because it's Triple H versus The Rock, we're able to see, wow, the Triple H guy, yeah, he's really entertaining. I really hate that guy. So boom. Then you got Kurt Angle too, because Kurt Angle and The Rock had a thing too, and I really hated Kurt Angle. And yeah. And I think that what the WWE would do is, to me, even when I was a kid, it always felt like the people that The Rock was going up against were better. Like my eyes were like, are these people better than he is?
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, what really, in reality, what The Rock really had was just his ability with the mic. And that is what kept him in the picture for the most part, even though his style is very predictable. He's still one of the greatest wrestlers out there. We're not taking anything away from him.
He's probably top 15.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I will put him up there. But based on other wrestlers that we've seen that have better resume, but longer careers, he just doesn't match up to be on our top 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect.
Sounds good, team.
Well, who was what would you say would be an honorable mention then? Because we were gonna look into that one. You said what was it? What was it you say?
I said Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle?
Because I
100%
can't
agree.
Because I can't say Kurt Angle because the kid already said Kurt Angle. I'll say Triple H.
I would say Eddie Guerrero.
You love Eddie Guerrero.
I love Eddie Guerrero. This
fun to
is
watch.
he was incredible in the mic. Amazing skills in the ring. Was able to turn a crowd in his favor or against him in a blink of an eye. One of the greatest moments, and I will never forget this, it was with his rivalry against Rey Mysterio. And he destroyed Rey Mysterio, ripped his mask off, almost revealed his face.
I remember that
Big
one.
disrespect in the Mexican luchador culture. And he shows up the next night, Friday night, walks into the ring. The crowd is just booing the hell out of him. Stood in that ring for 10 minutes, not one word, had that mask in his hand. The crowd was just going in a fury. Walked out of the ring, didn't say a word. And he had that crowd eating out of his palms. Any wrestler that can pull that off is going to be one of those greatest wrestlers of all time for me.
I will throw in one more on the honorable mention list. Rob Van Dam.
Oh, I love them.
The things that man, literally insane. When I was a kid, I was like, "Is this legal?" Rob Van Dam.
I gotta counter one more, and not in a negative, in a positive. I'll do 1A, 1B, just out of respect, because we all love wrestling so much. One is a biased favorite of mine. I used to love the Ultimate Warrior. Right?
Yep. Same, dude.
He sucked in the wrestling ring, but his entrance he has one of the coolest theme songs in history. His look was amazing. His physique was amazing. The Ultimate Warrior it's a damn shame that, one, rest in peace, and two, like, it's a damn shame that he didn't take it more serious, because he could have become greater than what he was. And then for B, I guess I'll be remiss to say very underrated, and I just think that people should give him a little bit more credit. Brock Lesnar was a monster.
Yeah,
Still is.
Brock
Still
Lesnar
is.
I'm talking about when he came out, yay. Oh my God.
Have you seen him now?
Dude.
No,
Have you
now
seen him now?
like the guy's a mountain, bro. He just doesn't. He gets older, he gets bigger. Like he's Brock Lesnar. Oh my
Yeah.
God! Did you hear the story, by the way? That Stone
the
Cold supposedly didn't want to do a job for Brock Lesnar, and that's why he left in like 2003, 2004. So interesting. So,
He did some math, and Stone Cold was like, "Oh, my time's almost done. Out on my terms. Goodbye." As we all should do with our jobs, by the way. When your time is done, get out. That's neither here
Yeah.
nor there.
yeah, and again, like I said earlier, it just one last shout out to the Macho Man. Rest in peace. I loved. Oh yeah,
There's a name, guys, that came out, but I don't know if you guys mentioned him. But Brian, let me see the name right here. Brian Danielson, is that?
oh
Okay,
yeah.
so Brian Danielson is a younger generation. He's actually towards his second half of his career now. Uh, he was trained by Shawn Michaels. He's amazing. One of the greatest technical wrestlers. The crowd loves him, but there's just so many wrestlers that are way better than him.
Yeah,
In
unfortunately.
his, unfortunately, and one of them is Chris Benoit.
Woo!
Dean Malenko,
Yeah.
Chris Jericho. Like I could go on a talent to
I
a
love Dean Malenko.
more.
Scott Hall.
Who had better?
Scott Hall.
Peter
Mhm.
Saturn, Perry Saturn. I could go on a lot of wrestlers who fights his style and were better. But at the time that Danielson was wrestling, there wasn't a lot of technical wrestlers because everybody's going for the more flashy style, high flying. They wanted a big muscle guy still. Vince McMahon loves the big muscle guys.
Sure does.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was kind of like a change of culture that we were going from there, and we were looking at the next generation, more athletic looking ones, one that had skill sets like, uh, Brian Danielson was one of them, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Edge at that time, So it was a kind of like at a moment where he had the opportunity to be able to come out, be different, and stand out. And though he had amazing matches, definitely future Hall of Famer, but I don't think he's at that level where we can say,
Like legendary status kind of thing. Yeah, I
yeah,
get
I
you.
will, I will, he's a superstar, but not legend status.
Yeah. By the way, before we
Hmm.
go, because wrestling has so much heroes that we grew up with, I have to mention him, Sting, right? Like Sting.
Yeah.
Like,
Sting.
Yeah.
outside of Ric Flair, he's WCW's greatest wrestler. Not the most popular. We talked about it. That's Bill Goldberg.
Yep.
Hmm.
Sting, right? Like, man,
Yeah, he goes.
Bill Goldberg.
No, I agree. I don't like Bill Goldberg.
Goldberg only had
Like,
one move, and we all know what it is. Spear.
and the jackhammer.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was always cool to watch.
That's it.
I'll say
I can't
say
believe
this. Okay, so I have
we haven't. I can't believe we haven't mentioned Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. Yeah, 80s.
92.
I say Hulk
92?
Hogan because at the time, that's when WWE was going more national and going away from the territorial concept. And the one person that attracted every American on TV to come watch WWF was Hulk Hogan. That's who they were watching. This guy was an icon in
Yeah.
pop culture. You can't take away what he did and help build WWE to the point where they became as big as they are now.
That's true.
I got to put Hulk Hogan there.
I can't deny that. Well, let me tell you something, brother. I can't deny. I can't deny Hulk Hogan's legacy and his impact on pro wrestling. He was the GOAT for a lot of years. He's the GOAT for a lot of generations. He's probably still the GOAT for a lot of people. I just think that the more he talks, the more podcasts, the more you hear about his creative controlling. You hear about what stuff he did behind the scenes and all that stuff. You're like, I don't know, man.
Hulk Hogan is a cautionary tale for all people that do great things. What happens is there are always rumors about your weaknesses. And I think what happened, you have two choices. You can either do better or you can do worse. Unfortunately, he chose to consistently do worse. and he continues to consistently do worse. And you stop and you're like, bro, do you know who you are? And he's like, no, brother. And here we go. Here we go. He has tarnished his own legacy while still living, which is crazy when you think about it.
Do you recall back in '98 when the Warrior went to WCW, right, for like 3 months?
You sure do.
So the behind the scenes stories, if we choose to believe them, is the presumption was, he went to Eric Bischoff and said, "Hey, can we get the Warrior in here? We might make some money like the old days." They brought the Warrior in there for the sole purpose of Halloween Havoc in 1998 to beat him in the ring to get a revenge win that he lost to him 8 years prior. This is a man who's like
petty.
Yeah.
Petty and small.
Yeah.
To be that rich and to be that big and to be that petty and that small. Cautionary tale.
Correct.
Nope. We lost the moderator.
Yeah, we lost the moderator. So I there's a lot of people to choose from, man. There's a lot. Raul, outside of The Rock, do you recall anybody else that was huge back in the art?
I remember John Cena, obviously, and most of the names that you guys mentioned, they resonate with me. But I guess my other question would be: is there anyone you guys think could make it to a Mount Rushmore? You know, anyone that is actually accomplishing a few things? Yeah, John Cena.
John Cena, because John Cena, I think, has done one of the greatest reinventions in our lifetimes. And at the same time, too, when you're looking at the way that he set himself up both in the wrestling world and the acting world, people just like him. And he seems to be who he presents himself as. And he's still, I think, like what, in his 40s, maybe?
He has to be in his 40s.
Yeah, he's got some time left.
John Cena has to be in his 40s. The thing with John Cena, to echo your point, I think it has to be John Cena as well. Because unlike The Rock, Ego, the difference with him and The Rock is that he has a better in-ring skill set than The Rock. And the thing is that also he's come more often back than The Rock did. And then thirdly, however you say it, the thing that John Cena is that you could make a legitimate argument that John Cena probably overshadowed The Rock in terms of acting. And so
yes,
look at his most recent films. He's done, and the cool thing about John Cena, and I'm not the greatest John Cena fan, but the cool thing about John Cena is that he actually does a variety of films. He did a comedy when he was the dad. He did Peacemaker. He's just not a one-shot pony, and that's the con with The Rock. Every movie you see The Rock in, he's what, some MET. He's somewhere near helping out somebody in emergency purposes. Skyscraper, San Angeles, like it's always
didn't John Cena replace
of some sign?
Didn't John Cena replace The Rock in the X movies, the Fast and Furious movies? I think he did.
In a way, kind of.
Yeah.
Your point is that when they were coming off The Rock, they started looping in John Cena. Yeah, that's true. I would argue in favor of John Cena that when you're looking at it, John Cena did the impossible, and John Cena pretty much saved the DC universe.
Oh,
when you're looking at it,
but save the DC universe, saved.
Jay, I'm gonna back on track that on another time.
It's true.
No, that's not true.
Well, what is it? I've never heard of this.
I know where he's going, but go ahead, Jay.
So John Cena is so charismatic and so good at what he does that he was able to take a character that nobody even knew or cared about, Peacemaker, and make it into something that's actually marketable. It so far, it has been the strongest thing that whack company has made in the last, like, what, 5-10 years, something like that.
To help your argument, Professor, Peacemaker had the highest streaming numbers for a show, not even like HBO Max, for a show, #1 worldwide when it came out. So to
absolutely,
your point, he did amazing. But to say DC, no. No. Again, that's another video. We won't get to that yet. I'm gonna say it was Matt Reeves, but that's fine. We'll get to.
I wonder, actually.
Yeah. I want to go. I say John Cena as well. because I can't really think of anybody that's had that major impact as he has. You know, maybe Chris Jericho, because his career is still going around. This guy's still super popular.
Really?
Every yeah,
Chris Jericho then AEW.
Oh, got it.
yeah. So every time Chris Jericho left and came back, he always reinvented his character, was always up to date, and that generation loved him. Will leave, he'll come back, comes with a different character, different move sets and stuff. This new generation loves him. The next one, same process.
Yeah.
Every time he was able to reinvent himself to the fan base that exists in the industry at the time and became super popular. And when AEW came around, AEW owes him and Cody Rhodes everything for being at the level that they're at right
The American Nightmare.
now. Hmm.
I'll tell you this though, we're from South Florida,
Ah,
and
damn. That's gonna be my choice, Cody Rhodes.
we're from South Florida, so we got to mention the greatest local wrestler in the history of South Florida, Teddy Khan. I've been watching Teddy
Yes.
Khan for years. It's a damn shame he never won a match. This man accumulated more memorial bills in record history.
No.
Yeah, he got concussed on the way to the ring. Teddy Khan is the epitome of what wrestling should be. And my understanding that his idol was the Brooklyn Brawler, but that's what I know about Teddy Khan.
Yes, yes. The West Wing of Mercy Hospital is named after him because of how often he was there. If you thought Goldberg's streak was impressive, he doubled that on the other side, though.
Correct. He was a walking workers' comp.
Yeah, one time he was accidentally eliminated on a Royal Rumble match through the ropes, and he was trying to get back in, but it's like, bro, let's be real, get out of here. They told him to go to the back.
Yeah, he tore his ACL while putting his boots on. This is a guy who's a legendary status. That guy, again, just local shout out to the man. He's been retired for a couple of years, but back in his prime, there was nobody that could take a beat down like he did. So just shout out.
His job was to take L's. Come out here, Teddy.
Have a little respect though, because he did become the hardcore champion for ICW. He was a two-time tag team champion for Extreme Wrestling Federation. Um, and he was also a tag team champion for what was that? Miami Wrestling Alliance. So put some respect on his name. Teddy Khan was amazing. He is the all-star thriller, the South Beach sensation. Um, yeah, love that guy. And
I heard-
those that haven't got it, I used to be a professional wrestler and wrestled under that name. And yes, I used to get my ass kicked all the time. And surgery was, and then the kid was, I showed up to a few matches and just roasted me the entire time. It was crazy.
Listen, man, when he won a match, I was there and it was still a typo. How about that?
Yeah, so I was a jobber, as in that was my job. It was to make the other talent look amazing, allow them to win. This is the way we developed the younger talent. And I did this for about 10 and a half years. The last time I wrestled was
Great run.
in Kissing. No, it was in, oh my God, I forgot the name of the city, which is just off of I-95 before turning into Orlando. But there was an there. That was probably my favorite match too, because I wasn't expected to wrestle, and they just kind of threw me in there. We came up with a amazing story, and it was basically putting me in the featherweight Royal Rumble match. And I basically said that I weighed under 205 pounds, where obviously I don't. So somehow I'm here complaining and bitching on the outside as I'm trying to get in. Referees are trying to figure out what's going on. And at one moment, I just say, "Look, he agrees," pointing towards the commissioner. And I just escaped security, slid right into the ring. They ring the bell. I turn around, got clothesline, and got eliminated. Right then and there. So I'm in the outside throwing a tantrum, saying that I was trying to call timeout and no one listened to me. And I ended up getting interviewed like by 5 different podcasts and calling me the heaviest lightweight of all time.
Love it.
Hey,
Love it.
listen, I used to love watching you wrestle, man. It was amazing, and I just thought that it was surreal going to those matches down south. It was entertaining, and once you were done wrestling, man, I didn't care who else was there. I just came to go see you, and I just thought it was awesome because uh, you could say that you did what you wanted to do, and even though I don't care how long you did it, as long as you did it, and I just thought that was a great experience for you, and I just thought it was a great experience that something you loved,
Correct.
and if you love something, it's worth doing.
Oh, 100%. And honestly, I find myself very fortunate that I ended up falling into the business. I ended up meeting the people that I did, the people that I've met throughout my career there, and just seeing some of them wrestling for WWE, AEW. And I'm like, damn, I used to sit next to this guy and I'm like giving him pointers, or I was there training them. I remember that, you know. So it's great to see like a lot of my friends doing what they're doing still, killing it and making their big names for themselves in the industry. All right. I actually had one more for you guys. Greatest tag teams that belong in Mount Rushmore.
Oh, 4? Man, that's tough.
I
Wow.
haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go for the sake of going.
If you want to name just one or two,
No, I got you. I
you
got
could.
4. I got 4. I
You
got
got
4. I got
4?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
tough, and no disrespect for anybody because we all love these people. Edge and Christian, right? Edge and Christian have to be up there.
Yes.
The Dudley boys. I loved the Dudley boys growing up. This is where it gets a little tough, right? Because you could go either way. You could go Legion of Doom. You could go Steiner Brothers. You could go the Heart Foundation. Um, ah, I'm biased now. Now I'm going biased. The Hardy Boys. I love the Hardy Boys. I just loved. Who didn't love that TLC matches back in the day? Tables, ladders, and chairs. Like who didn't love that back in the day? Unfortunately, those 3 are from that era. And then I guess the last one I'll choose out of getting away from that era. Um, man, I have to go to Legion of Doom only because they look so cool.
That's a great team, though.
I was gonna say
What
Legion of
about?
Doom for my number 1.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I'm lagging now, I think.
Man.
And my number 2 was gonna be New Age Outlaws.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
It's the DO double G. What is it?
Okay.
What is the line? Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. What is it? What is the line he used to say all the time? Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's D Generation proudly presents the tag team champions of the world. The Road Dogg, Jesse James. I forgot his name. Billy Gunn. Badass Billy Gunn.
Badass.
Yeah.
The New Age
Outlaws.
And then Billy Gunn's turn was on the mic, and he's like, "If you ain't down with that, then I got 2 words for you."
Was it Sucker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good call, Jay. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will have Edge and Christian. Gotta have them in there. Both as singles and as tag team champions. The Hardy Boys, they had a huge impact on everyone, with especially Jeff Hardy. Like everybody wanted to fly like Jeff Hardy. Everybody wanted to be as crazy as Jeff Hardy. This was he was the prototype for the high flying style that ended up coming out in the independent scenes in the late 2000s, and leading some of the more talented wrestlers that we see now.
And did he win a world title, Jeff Hardy?
He did. It's amazing. And the same thing with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy, he always the second fiddle to Jeff Hardy, let's be real, even though he was more talented than his brother.
Yeah.
He's the same thing, just like Jericho. Like every time he came back with a new gimmick, it was like a huge reinvention of himself.
Yeah.
You know, when he was the Hardy Boys, he was cool, crazy, dark, and everything. Then he comes out as V1, and he's like this high techy kind of cool kid out of nowhere. The last one that came where he's what was the gimmick?
With the white hair.
With the white hair,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Talking about Celestials and outwardly stuff, it still sold it. And then he became the multi-billionaire version of himself. And I still remember that ad that he created where he was basically saying like, I have so much money, it's all over the place. I have nowhere to store it. So if
First
you
world
go to
problems.
my GoFundMe page, you guys can donate to me so I could be able to buy a safe so I could put all my money. And you see him like taking shots of him pouring cereal, and money's coming out with the cereal, and he's crying as he's trying to eat the cereal. Like this, the Hardy Boys, you can't do that. You can't leave him out of this conversation. Uh, After that, I would put the Hart Foundation.
Oh,
Gotta put them. This is one of the greatest tag teams of the early '90s, '80s. Uh, in future Hall of Famers, both of them.
both of them.
Both of them. Can't take that away. And then of course number one, the most decorated tag team in pro wrestling history, and that's the Dudley Boys. Multiple time tag team champions in WWE, in WCW, ECW, NWA, Pro Japan, New Japan, TNA. Where haven't they won? That's the honest truth. Where haven't they won?
Devon, get the tables.
Taking it back right there.
Yeah, greatest tag team of all time. Can't take away that from them.
Good list, guys.
Did you know of any tag teams, Eagle, when you were down there in Dominican Republic?
Nah, not at all, man. That's as far as I go.
All right, what was your favorite pro wrestler?
Austin Cole. I remember seeing him. I thought he was cool. I thought, to be honest, I think he always looked old to me, but that only made him right. But that only made him more interesting because he was more experienced, and he wasn't necessarily like his show was more serious than all the other guys because, like you guys mentioned, like The Rock. Now that you guys explained it, it did seem like he was definitely on top regarding the show and what he would say and how it would attract a lot of people. I mean, I guess you could say the same with John Cena, but I don't know. Austin to me was down to business. Whatever it takes, just straight up cold, right? The beer thing, I always remember it. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was not allowed, to be honest. I thought, like, can this guy do this? Like, is he, doing something illegal and we're not? But I guess that's why he's doing it. And then I thought it was controversial, the whole thing, like 316, like Trump, and I'm like, again, this guy. But you could not take him serious, right? Like at the end of the day, he was just there, breaking necks and whatnot. So yeah, to me that was him.
Obviously, like we said, I think unanimously we all agree that Stone Cold was in all of ours. So it makes sense that he'll be one of your favorites.
Dangerous to go alone.
All right.
Originated the
Anything
most.
else you guys want to talk about this, or I think we're done? All right. Well, this is it for this episode of Nerd Breaking News. Thank you for watching our show. Definitely comment, like, follow us. Just big shout out to Laybot, who is the DJ behind the music. Till next time, you guys have a great day.